Hello, Troop 516. This is Mr. Duncan, the fourth best knot tire in the troop. I've got two knots that I'm going to teach you today in one variation on the theme. We're going to do the timber line hitch today, and we're going to do the sheet bend, and then we're going to do a slight variation of the sheet bend called the Becket Hitch. Hey, but before I get started, did I tell you about Mr. Galkey? Mr. Galkey, he's another one of our assistant scoutmasters. He is a master knot tire. A few years ago, when he was a little younger man, he used to be an avid rock climber. And there are a lot of knots that are required in order to do safe rock climbing. He knows them all. He knows the knots that will save your life if you're a rock climber like him. Now me, I'm afraid of rock climbing. I'm afraid of heights. But you might one day want to be a rock climber with your parents' permission only. And if you do, make sure you go see Mr. Galkey. He'll teach you how to tie up your harness and safety lines and all that. He's way, way, way better than that than me. So let's get started. The first knot I'm going to show you is called the Timber Hitch. It's one of the easiest knots that scouts will be asked to learn how to tie. It looks like this. I've just got a long knot, or excuse me, a long rope and a log. The timber hitch gets its name because back in the old days, the lumberjacks, once they felled a big tree, they needed a simple way to tie a rope to it, and on the other end they would tie it to a horse or a team of horses, and they needed something that was secure, strong, easy to tie, and easy to turn loose when they got done. So this is a piece of a limb out of a Bradford pear tree that my son Gabriel and I trimmed yesterday. And this is just my plain white rope. The way it works is this. You put your rope underneath your log. In my left hand is the standing end. Nothing's going to happen with that rope. It's just going to stay stationary. And back in the old days, the standing end would be tied to a rope, would be tied to a horse or a team of horses, somehow tied up to them. In my right hand, this is my running end. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bite. I'm going to take my running end and run it around the standing end and make a bite. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my running end and run it around itself. See that? 3 times. 3 times. Pull it up tight. And now, this rope is being constricted and squeezed on itself. The tighter I pull on the standing end, the tighter that timber hitch gets. And look, if I was a horse, I could pull that log right out of the woods. And when I'm done, all I have to do is ease up on the tension, pull it back, and it comes undone very quickly. That's it. Let me show you again. Standing hand over here in my left hand, running hand here in my right. Make a bite. You see that? And then I wrap the running end around itself 3 times. And snug it down. It's a secure timber hitch. To release it, just release the tension and it unwraps very quickly. There's only one way to mess it up. Only one way to mess it up when you're doing a timber hitch. And that is, if you make your bite, you're supposed to wrap it around the running end. But if you accidentally make a mistake and run it around the standing end, see that? This is the way it won't work. It's going to come undone every single time. The only way to make a mistake with the timber hitch is to make your wraps around the standing end. You've got to make your wraps around the running end, and it'll be secure every single time. So that's the timber hitch. The next knot is maybe the simplest knot that scouts are asked to learn how to tie. It's called the sheep bend. The sheep bend gets its name from an unfortunate event. It used to be a knot that they would teach children, young adults. It would be a simple, quick, easy way to tie sheets together so that you could lower yourself out of the window from a second-story building in the case of a house fire. It's a tragic thing. I hope you never have to do it. For us as scouts, the sheep bend is a great way of tying ropes together that are of different sizes. So I've got a little bit bigger rope here and a little smaller rope. The sheep bend is really great for tying together ropes that are of different sizes. It goes like this. In your larger rope, you make a bite. Just make a bend. You take your smaller rope, stick it through from the back, and then wrap it around the back, and then we're going to take the running end of our smaller rope and just tuck it underneath, like that, and pull it tight. And that is a secure way to tie two ropes together that are of dissimilar sizes. And as long as you have tension on it, it's going to hold. You may not want to risk your life with it. Mr. Galky can discuss that with you. But it's a pretty secure knot. Let's do it again. I take my larger rope, make a bite in it. Take my smaller rope, stick it in from the back, wrap it around the back of my bite, take my running end on my smaller rope, and tuck it under, then pull it tight. That is the sheep bend. What it looks like from the back. It's just that simple. That's probably the simplest knot a scout will be asked to tie. All right, I'm going to show you something that's a slight variation on the theme of a sheep bend. I'm going to show you a thing called the Becket Hitch. The Becket Hitch is a knot that's used, I believe, in a lot of South African Amazon tribes to tie their hammocks to trees. Oftentimes, this stool here is going to serve the purpose of my tree. We're going to pretend that this leg is my tree. Usually when you're hanging up a hammock, you've got a tree strap that you tie directly to the tree. This piece of rope is going to serve as my tree strap, and I've got a bowline tied in it. Tree strap is strapped to your tree just like that. Okay, I wrap it around the tree, run it through the loop, and I've got a tree strap. Now I want to tie my hammock up to my tree strap. The end of your hammock, depending on how your hammock is made, will probably have a loop in it. It could either be a loop of rope or it might be a loop of the hammock fabric itself, but it'll have a loop in it. This is the way you tie the Becket hitch. It looks a lot like a clove hitch. I take my tree strap, I run it up through the bottom. And I'd run it around the back. See how that looks? Now, if I just simply tucked that end of the rope up under there, that would be a sheep bend, wouldn't it? But I'm going to do something slightly different. What I'm going to do, instead of tucking the rope directly up under that loop, I'm going to make a little bite. You see that? And tuck that in. It's a sheep bend with a bite in it. Now, I can pull on that. I have personally hung up my hammocks this way, and I have spent the whole weekend hanging in a tree with my tree strap tied to my hammock using a Becket Hitch. It's secure. It won't come down. It'll hold your weight. Guaranteed. I've done it. And when Sunday comes along and it's time to go home, look, all I gotta do is pull that loop out, take my hammock down, and I'm off. It's just that quick. Let's do it one more time. This is the loop on the end of my hammock. This might be my tree strap. I'm going to tie a hitch that's very similar to the sheep bend. Stick it through the bottom. Run it around the back. If I just tuck that in like that, that would be a sheep bend. You see that? But we're not going to do that. We're going to make a Becket hitch. A Becket hitch, I'm going to tuck in another little bite. Make a little bitty bite, tuck that in. See? And snug that down. And I'm telling you folks, that will hang your hammock up. I've done it. I'm speaking from experience here. It'll hold you all weekend long, and then some. When it's time to take it down, you just pull that loop out. You take your gear down off the tree, take your tree strap off, pack up your gear, and go on home. So there you have it. We did the timber hitch, we did the sheep bend, and we did a slight variation on the sheep bend called the Becket hitch. You all practice your knots. If you have any questions, you let me know. This is Mr. Duncan, 4th best knot tire in the troop. See you next time.